Good evening, everyone. My name is Sumita. Hope everybody can hear me. My name is Sumita. I come from India. On this late evening, I just wanted to share a bit of my experience with some of the things which are connected with the earlier presentations. It's about palliative care, about doing palliative care on a community basis in a metropolitan city like New Delhi in India. Before that, I'm not a palliative care person here. I'm a Hubbard H. Humphrey Fellow doing HIV prevention and policy studies in Hopkins. Just to give you a small introduction, we all know that we are the healthcare community. We know that palliative care is something which is an approach, WHO defines it as an approach to help people reduce their suffering by means of early identification and so on. And it talks about physical, social, psychological and spiritual issues to take care of that issues. This is WHO's definition. And I just came across a recent editorial in the PLOS Medicine on February 28. They also emphasized the need of psychosocial care for people who are terminally ill and bedridden. So my question is, we all talk about psychosocial problems of patients. What do we understand about them? How do we respond to them? This is my question. And what I wanted to tell you is an experience on this particular matter from one of a community-based organization, which is a purely voluntary-based organization in New Delhi, in India. This is a small group of people who are actually volunteering taking out time out of their other activities. They all are working professionals, students, or business people, or housewife. They all have 1 or 2 holidays in their week. So they take a little bit time out of that to go and visit patients in their homes and provide a little bit care or solace, whatever they can do to reduce their suffering. And this is for all patients, not only for cancer patients, but also for other patients who are bedridden or having life-limiting conditions. So this group was started in 2008, August. And I happened to join an office in New Delhi. I belong to another state, but I happened to join an office in New Delhi. And I came across this group and I joined them in 2009, January. So, I'm just going to tell you a story. This is a patient whom I met in 2009, May. Her name is Tracia. She was a nurse in her early 50s. And we just heard from one of my friend's colleague that this lady is suffering from cancer. And she's in the outskirts of the city. And she's living all alone. She's in the hospital. Naturally, we felt that she's all alone. She's suffering from cancer. We may need to do something. We can do something. So we rushed. 4 of us rushed on a Sunday afternoon. We took one of our friend's car and we drove 2 hours to reach the hospital. The hospital was the same hospital where she was working as a nurse. And we went to the room. One nurse took us to the room. And she was laying down on a bed, fully covered. She has even put the blanket over her face. And we told the nurse that we want to see her. So the nurse communicated to her that there are some people who came to see. She said, "No, I don't want to see anybody." The nurse came back to us. Okay, she's saying that she don't want to see anybody. Oh, what will we do? We just told her, tell her that we drove 2 hours, more than 2 hours, just to see her. Nurse went inside. Again, must have told her that there are 4 people who came to see you and they are insisting on that. And then she told, okay, they want to see me. Let them in, let them see me and leave. They just want to see me physically. Oh, we went inside the room and we didn't know what to do actually. So we went inside the room, she was not even looking at us and we stood on the door for a few minutes. And this lady I heard her talking. Okay, you want to tell me something? Say it and leave the room. So she was experienced with people who were coming, preaching, giving solace and so on. And they come, they talk so many things, they wanted to share something, they share something and they leave. So she was experienced with all these things for a long time. So she expected that, okay, these people also came for that. We didn't say anything. And time was passing by and my friends got a little bit confused. What are we going to do? She's not even looking at us. We came this much way to help her. And she's not even looking at us. What are we going to do? And we had 3 men and 1 lady, me. And the men started looking at me, saying that, oh, you are the lady. You go ahead and talk to her. For me, I didn't have an experience of handling such situations so far. So I just thought, okay, my goodness, I have to do something. Okay. Finally I decided, I didn't know what to talk. And the thing I did was not even a planned thing, I never thought about that. I just went to her bed and just took her hand, right hand. I didn't say anything. And luckily she didn't resist me touching her. And then I told her, we didn't come to tell you something. We just came to hear you. 1 moment passed. She just looked at my face and she looked at others' faces also. She was keeping on looking at all of us and then she gently asked, okay, where are you coming from? So, friends, that was the very start of a long relationship that patient called Tracy. And you may be wondering why she was reluctant to talk to us. She was reluctant to talk to people, she was reluctant to meet people, only because she was so much tired of sympathizing people. And she was feeling that God has punished her for something and she don't want to live anymore. And we came to know about the thing that she didn't want even treatment. She was in the hospital only because she didn't have a place, she didn't have somebody to live with her and look after her. So in the hospital, at least the nurses would be able to help her. They will bring her food and all other stuff. But she was not even taking medication. That we spent about half an hour there and we were talking about who we are and what we came for and all these things. And at the end of the time, we just asked her, can we come later? She just looked at, if you want, you can come. Okay, we kept on visiting her every weekend. We managed the person who informed us and his wife to visit her on a once in 3 days basis. We started talking to her. That talk, and we asked her why you don't want treatment, and this is the answer she told us. I don't want treatment. I don't find any worth in living. You may be asking why. She's a nurse and she knows about treatment, and now she don't want to treat. You may be feeling why that question. I had the same question, why? And the story behind this is that she was abandoned by her husband when she was carrying her second son. And after that, ever since that, she struggled a lot to bring up his children. A lot. She worked. She was too away from her family. She didn't want to go back to her family because her husband left her. They may be feeling that, oh, she did something, that's why he left her. So she didn't want to go back to her family. So she tried that much, and once she became sick, too sick to even to manage her personal course on a daily basis, the son simply told, Mom, you are a burden to us. You are not doing anything to us. You are not giving money to us. You are a burden to us. Imagine what such a lady who has spent all of her life for the children and who has only her children in her life, what else she will feel. But we cannot give up. We didn't give up. It took 2 months of continuous visits and talks to make her think about how I can at least live without much suffering. And if I live on without suffering, if I can get up from my bed, I will be able to manage my own course. She started thinking about that. Eventually, it ended up that she underwent a series of chemotherapies, 2 surgeries, not to cure cancer, but to manage her problems, but to manage her physical problems. And today, this is in October 2011, she was attending one of our meetings where patients, volunteers, everybody come and share their experiences. She was in that meeting. And the day before I came here to US in last August, I visited her to tell that I'm going for US and I will be coming back after 1 year to meet you. And I asked her, what are you going to do in 1 year? And she told me that she's a nurse and she wants to write a book for nurses on caring people. So now she has something to live on. And to another side of the story, we could actually get some people in our volunteers themselves to talk to her sons and bring them back home. Now, I just made a call a few days ago and to find out that she and her sons, both sons are living together in the same house. And she is very happy. And she even had visited her home back in Kerala to reunite with her family. This would not have been happening if somebody has gone and talked to her. So, my whole point of talking this is that there are many people, there are people who are with courage, but there are people suffering from a lot of issues. May not be only disease, but associated issues. So if we are able to touch a human life, and if we are able to give them an ear for hearing their stories, this makes changes. I have 1 more minute, I hope. Done. This is not the one single story. You can see other stories also. This is a lady who was undergoing treatment, but her main concern, she told me, was somebody has to call me at least once in a week to talk to. And other concern was about her daughter, how she would be able to do without her mother. So we were able to take her to a school to finish up her studies and all. And I don't need to explain the story. This is a real social issue. This lady does not have anything. And she is living on the street. So we were able to give her food and ration and other stuff. And we were able to take her home. So the whole learning I have from this organization where I am a volunteer is if we do something with our heart, it works. Thank you so much.